Hi guys, uh, good evening. In the last class, we discussed about what tags, triggers, and variables are. Right. In today's class, we will learn about Google Analytics 4. So we'll start with the basics of GA4 and see how we can implement GA4 for a website using Tag Manager, where we deploy all the tags through which we send different events to analytics, and we create triggers that the tags will fire. And of course, we will use variables because that is where all the data that we want to send is stored, right? But before we jump directly into GA4, I want to spend some time to be able to understand or make you understand how tags, triggers, and variables as a whole work. I told you in last class, the tags is some action that you want Google Tag Manager to perform. But when you want an action to perform, you also have to specify when that action should be performed, right? Simultaneously, when the action is being performed, you need some data, right? If I tell you add and I don't give you any values, you can't do anything with it. So when I'm telling you to do some action, which is do a sum, and I don't give you values, what's the point? So when I tell you to do an action, I also need to supply you with the data. And where is the data stored? In variables. I told you in GTM, there are a lot of variables. The variables are divided into two categories. The first one is built-in variables. Second one is user-defined variables. Built-in variables, there are so many. All you need to do is just go to built-in variables and click on check boxes. You can enable all of them by default, right? Just need to enable them. When it comes to user defined, there are set of variables. Each of them have a different type. Now, I want to spend more time on variables because variables, I fundamentally believe they are the heart of all tag manager. Why are we doing all tag manager tags? Because we want to be able to track something. When we say we want to be able to track something, we need the data, right? And that data is stored inside of a variable. I told you JavaScript. In JavaScript, variables are a named memory location. Inside that, you can put one value. And I told you in the class before that, that whatever value you store inside of a variable, that value will have a data type. And that data type includes string, boolean, number, array, object, null, undefined. So these are the different data types that you have inside of analytics, right? Same thing when you come to GTM also, you'll have the same stuff because GTM variables are nothing but what? JavaScript variables only. So to be able to understand GTM, you have to understand how or what is JavaScript. And I told you, I don't know if I've told you this. JavaScript is the first language for all marketers and all web developers. So if you're a marketer, you need to at least understand this language. I can understand, but I can't write. That's okay. But at least you need to be in a position to understand because this is the first language for every marketer and for every web developer, right? So let's go to tags and see what we have done in the last class, and then we'll slowly try to build on that. I'm logging into Google Tag Manager account. Can you all see my screen, guys?
Yes.
So this is where we want to be working. I told you for the sake of class, we built this website called class.measuremarketer.com. This is typically a WooCommerce site, and I told you in the last class that I added a plugin called GTM4WP. That plugin will enable me to install GTM on the website, but that is not what it does. It even pushes the data layer event for all e-commerce actions. And for people who find it difficult, go back and check my previous class where I told you how to, enable this data layer thing through this particular plugin, GTM4WP, right? Now,
చికెన్ పకోడీ
be on mute, guys. Please.
బయట రేట్లు ఎక్కువని ఆడ ఆఫర్ ఏం పెట్టలేదు
Right. Let's check what we done, what we did last class. I think this is where we worked for part 6, not class dot. This is where we work. I create an alert tag, and this alert tag will fire whenever people scroll 2550, and these are the variables. Okay. So inside this tag, I set up a trigger. The trigger is scroll depth. Whenever people scroll, what scroll vertical, and whenever people scroll 25, 50, 75, 100, right? At that particular time, this tag will fire. This tag will fire once for 25, once for 50, once for 75, once for 100. And whenever it fires, it shows an alert, says, hey, I scrolled. What is this? This is a variable. So this variable will store the value of how much you scrolled. When it is 25, this will be 25. If you scroll 50, then it will be 50. When you scroll 75, this will be 75, right? So what I'm going to do is I don't want this as well. One second. I don't have the access to publish it, so I'm trying to check if I'm the administrator of the account. So what I will do is look carefully. Look carefully. I am not creating any tags. I will only create triggers. See? I create triggers. A lot of triggers I'll create for you so we can see how this is working. So I created one trigger. The first trigger is whenever people click on menu clicks. So I simply said, whenever people click anywhere where click text, this is the variable, right? Variable contains any of this about us or contact or whatever, right? That's why I put menu clicks. And whenever people scroll, let's go and see what all triggers are there. I can create a trigger that fires on all DOM ready. I told you DOM ready. The triggers are basically categorized into page view, click, user engagement, other. Page view means as the page begins to load. DOM is the whole document is ready, which means, see, when you come to a website, the browser makes a request to server gives the whole document. The document is parsed into DOM. Once the DOM is parsed, right, then DOM ready. Window is once the DOM is completely loaded, all the JavaScript is also loaded, then window load. So I will create one more trigger called window load. All window loads, right? Or sometimes you might say, Prashant, not all window loads, Prashant. Only when people go to DOM of, let's say, contact us page. So I can go create variable here, which I'm not doing. I want to create triggers without using any variables. Here also 25, 50, 75, all pages. This also I will remove it. DOM ready, then all elements. So I will create a trigger for all elements, nothing I'm doing, nothing, all elements. Whenever you want to make a specific trigger, you have to use variables because variables have data. That data inside of variables is used in triggers to create a condition. So variables can be used both in triggers. It is used in tags. It is used in triggers to create a condition. It is used in tags so that the data in the variable will be sent. Okay. So triggers, the concept of triggers is a condition that is waiting to become true. If it becomes true, the tag associated to that trigger will fire. But when will it become true? You can simply say all pages. Whenever page load becomes true, that means all the tags that it's connected to the trigger will fire every page load. I don't want to do it on every page load, Prashant. I want to do it only on contact us. Then you need to make a specific trigger. And whenever you think about making a specific trigger, you need a condition that has filter in it, right? And that filter can only be created when you have variables because variables have data. So right now, what I'm doing is I'm not doing anything. I want you to show all of them and see how the data layer thing, the trigger thing works and how the data is available, right? Trigger. Then I will go and create just link clicks. What is just link clicks, If you come to this website, if I click here, it is a click. If I click here, it's a click. But if I click here, it is a link click. Because when I click on this, you see there is a link. At the bottom of the screen, left side, you see there's a link. Right? Sometimes you want to write a trigger that only when people click on a link. So you can say, Prashant, only when people click on a link, only when people click on something which has a link in it, and that link should be about us page. Here you see it is about us. Here it is accessory. Here it is bicycles. So I want to do something only when people click, and the click URL should contain about us. So we can write a specific condition. So I'm creating link clicks, all link clicks, I said, link clicks, not clicks. Right? I want you to understand variables a little bit. Teaching GA4 is easy. Then element visibility. So what is element visibility? I'll show you. Let's say, what element should I find? Let me go to contact us form, see what happens after I submit the form. Okay. I want to just see. What is element visibility? We're creating what? Element visibility. What is the element visibility trigger? Is the element visible? I told you everything that you see on the screen. On the back end, it's an element. I told you what is an element. Element is the opening and the closing. Everything here you see head element, closing, opening, body, closing, open. Inside that, you have lot of elements. Every element has a opening, every element has a closing, right? Element. Inside that element, you have a lot of attributes. Attributes means this element has a class, right? If I open this element has a lot of children in it, right? This element has children in it, the H5 element. Open here, close here. This H5 element has a class. Then, inside the div, there is P. This P has a class, right? We will discuss about this, okay? So what I want to do is everything that you see on the screen is an element. Whenever I click on something, when a click happens, right? Click happens on some element. Click happens, it happens on element. So whenever a click happens, what browser does, right? It sends an event to the element on which the click happened. Any event, it sends it. Then it listens. Are you looking for click or the event is not click because you hovered? So if I hover on this, this element received an event saying the hover happened on this element. I can write a listener saying if the hover happens on me, show an alert. If I take the cursor here, this element that you see on the screen, nothing is there. But backend is an element, no? That element now received an element saying he brought the cursor on you, right? So right now, I want to show you everything you see here on the screen is an element. I want to submit something because I want to show when submit, you see, this message appears. The form has been successfully. So now what I will do, I click on this, go to inspect. You see, this is a span element which has a success message. You see this element. If I hover the cursor, you see, this element is a div element whose class is this. So what I will do is I'll take this class, this one. This is the class, right? So I will create a trigger saying whenever an element appears on the screen, does this element have an ID? No, it does not have. It has a class. If it has a class, we don't choose ID, we choose CSS selector. If it is class, we put dot. Dot in CSS means class. What class? I give it this. So whenever this message appears, and at least it should appear 50 times, and I'm telling the trigger to listen for DOM changes. DOM means this dynamically appears. It is not there when page loaded. After I submitted, dynamically it appears. So I'm telling the GTM trigger to listen for DOM change. And I can even say like this, when this element appears, this element should appear for at least 2 minutes or 1 minute or 30 seconds. Or you can say, "Prashant, what does it mean? If it appears, it means successful now." Sometimes, let's say, if you go into an e-commerce website, you have a product page, right? You can know when people go to the product page. But I want to know if people have read reviews. Reviews are at the bottom of the page, right? On the product page. On the product page at the bottom. If people simply scroll 70%, reviews read. But doesn't mean just because people scroll 70, do you think they read the review? No. You will know they read the review when that element of review appears on the screen for at least 1 minute, which means that element is on the screen for 1 minute, which means somebody is reading it. So I can write a listener like that, right? I can say if it appears on the screen at least for 10 seconds, 20 seconds, which I don't want to do here. So I will say, so I will say, 1 second, boys, 1 second. Right? 50% visible. 50% visible means what, Sometimes people submit, you see this element, we're talking about this one. You see this element. If it appears on the screen like this, on the screen, let's say, you want this to appear full or you want this to appear only half. You can say, in my case, as long as it appears, because I know when this appears, form is submitted. So I'll simply put 5. Sometimes what happens is you might want to put something like a bigger number also. Only when the element is fully visible on the screen. Right. In my case, I don't need it. I will say element visibility, form submission message. Element visibility, I will not write full. I will always put EV. The moment I see EV, I know it is element visibility. So you see a link clicks. I know link clicks. It's a click. WL, window load, DOM ready trigger, scroll depth trigger. So I try to give it naming convention like this, so it kind of becomes easy for me. Right? Then is form submission. Form submission is you don't have to do anything. You simply put form submission. By default, GTM has a trigger. I told you triggers are listeners. Correct? Element visibility, I gave that element, right? Whose class is this? So when GTM loads, it's always listening. Any element appears on the screen who has this class. If yes, the trigger becomes true. Form submission, GTM by default has a trigger called form submission, right? So by default, when GTM load, this trigger is always listening. if any form is submitted. If yes, this will track, right? Then what it will do, I'll show you. If it tracks, what will it do? Prashant, we created a lot of triggers, no? Okay, then let's say form is submitted, this becomes true. Then what happens? Form is submitted, it tracked. What happens? Link click, this becomes true. So whenever page loads, link clicks this trigger is listening. If anybody is going to click on any element which has a link. If yes, this becomes true. So Prashant, all the triggers that we create, finally they are waiting or listening to become true. But question is, what if they become true? What if they become true? How do I know they become true? That's what I'm trying to explain to you. Okay. So let's go and create the other triggers. Scroll up, I create YouTube video. So I can say, I'll simply put YouTube like this. In YouTube trigger, by default, GTM has the inbuilt feature that I can listen to YouTube video interactions on my site. My video is on YouTube. I took the YouTube video, embedded it on my site. So I come here and I say, whenever people start the video, whenever people complete the video. By default, it comes. Some papers start, complete, or it's basic. I want to track how many people have at least seen or watched 50% of my video on 75% of my video or 30% of my video. So you can choose whether you want it percentages or you want it seconds. Second means whoever watched 10 seconds of my video, 20 seconds of my video, right? You can choose that. So what I will do here, I will choose this one. I will choose this easy, when we I'll show you like this. Okay. You always have to enable this because this is an API or configuration that is needed for GTM to be able to listen to actions that happen on the YouTube video on the website. And all videos, there's all videos. I will make specific triggers later, but I want you to first understand how this is working. So I will put YouTube play. Sorry, start, complete, progress. Then you have another trigger, custom event. I will tell you what custom event is. Custom event is, let's say, name enter. I'm just giving an example. I create a custom event called name enter. What is this name enter? I'll show you now. Right? Or let me take you to this website. Remember, boys, we discussed something called enhanced e-commerce. When people go to the category page, we tell the developer to push an event to data layer. You see, this is the event. This is the event key. So this is what you can use. Whenever developer pushes an event to data layer called this one. So this, if this trigger will become true when an event is pushed to data layer and the name of the event is this. Okay. Right. Whenever people add to cart, there's another data layer event. So if I click on this, it will show me select item. When I click on add to cart, it has a different event called add to cart. So the trigger that I create here, custom event, will become true when an event is pushed to data layer and the name of the event is this, whatever you specify. So in our case, what I will do is I'll do this. Right. Let's go and create history change. I want to show this to you as well. Lot of times what happens is you load a website. Whenever the user goes from one page of the website to other page of the website, the browser needs to make a request to server and server gives the new page and browser loads the page, tag manager loads. So it's like a new page every time you go from one page to other page, new load. But there is a concept called single page application websites, where you go from one page to other page of the website, but page does not reload. Only once you come to the website, the browser makes a request to server, server gives the website. And when you click on something else to go to next website, the browser doesn't make a request to server. the browser takes you to second page, but there is no page reload. So you go to 5 pages, only one page load. So if you generally use traditional tracking, people have clicked on 4 5 links, they go to 5 pages. They go to 5 pages. But how many times page loaded? Only once. I'll give you one example of this website. Mm, I remember this website called Software Hub. This is a good website, or you may love it's ingenious. What this platform does is, right? This is I came to the site, the browser made a request to their server, and server gave the whole code. So far clear, right? Browser. Now you see here, I click on anything here. Let's say it loads immediately. The page did not reload at all. The page did not reload. If I click on this, it loads immediately. Page did not reload fully, but URL changed. But if Prashant, the page does not reload, GTM will only know one page loads, and that is what it knows. It doesn't know that pages are being changed. To listen to that, in GTM, you have a feature called history change. You don't have to do anything. Simply go to trigger and create a history change. That's it. So whenever the page URL changes, it captures it. Right? Or you want me to show this to you? I will do that as well. Let's say I will copy this GTM code. Boys, I will copy this GTM code. I will go to this website, Software Hub. I use an extension called AdsWorth, right? And the advantage of this extension is it will allow me to insert any GTM code of my choice. Only the browser, only the boundaries of my browser. It is not added to the live website. It's only in the boundaries of my browser. So what this extension does is when page loads, no, this extension will put this GTM on the website. So when page loads, my GTM loads. So my GTM loads means I can see all the tags because my tags will fire, right? So I want to show you that. It's asking me what's a domain name. So I'll say software or softwarehub.com, right? Save and hit go. Now you see here, you see our GTM is connected, right? So I will take this website, just a second. I'll go to our GTM container, click on preview. I want to show you how this history change also happens. Software Hub. When you came to my site, GTM is connected. You see here, it loaded all these things, right? See here. Now what I will do is, it is able to show me the debug window because this website has my GTM. Did the GTM placed on the backend? No, it is done through an extension lecture. So I can start doing my work even though client did not give me access. Once he gives me the access, I can take all the tags that I create in here, download them, upload them to his container. Right. That's how I do it. So now what I will do is I'll quickly take you to some page. Let's say you see page reload happened. If page reload happens, what you might see another one here like this. This is the only one. You'll see one more thing like this. And then again, it starts with container load, DOM ready, window load. But here, if you see, until this time, when page loaded for the first time, you look at all the variables showed, this is the page. Until this time, the page URL is same. Until this time. But once I go to next page reload did not happen. But page URL changed, content changed. You see? Until I clicked, when I clicked, this was the URL. But after click, history change happened. But if I simply create a page view, all pages, you might go to 10 pages of this website. You might go to 10 pages of this website, but page reload doesn't happen. It's only once. So you'll only track the first page view, because only at this time your tag will fire on all page or all DOM ready. You're thinking, Prashant, people are going from one page to other page, so every time it loads, we will track it now. All DOM ready, which means every time people go to next page, DOM loads. When no next page, DOM loads. So which means every page, DOM ready trigger will become active. But in this case, it will only become active. But people are going from one page to other page, but page reload is not happening. So in such a case, we'll use a trigger called history. So because I created a history trigger here, see here, because I created a history trigger here, I told, hey, trigger, listen to all history changes. And because I created it, it is listening to all the history change. And whenever it found a history change, it pushes an event to data layer. You see here? It pushed an history change happened. And you know what it pushes? It pushes the old URL and it pushes the new URL also. Right? You see the new URL is software? Yes. It is software. Now what I will do is from this page, I will go to some other page, let's say um, this page. Now you see here. So now when it comes to this history, it is changed. The page URL. What is the previous one? Previous one was this. The new URL is this. So what the history thing is doing, the trigger that we created, the history thing, whenever page loads is listing if any history change happens. If it finds a history change happening, it will immediately notify us who's working on GTM by pushing an event to data layer. Are you with me? I'll show you. I'll delete all of them. Now what I will do is I'll click somewhere. We created a trigger called all clicks, right? So when GTM loaded, the trigger is listening if any click happens. I click on this. Immediately notifies us that the click happened by pushing that data to data layer. You see here? This is the event name, and it is, and you see at that particular time when the click happened, it pushes an event to data layer, and all these variables have captured the data. Let's say if I click on compare, a click happened here. You see the click text variable captured what text it was, what URL it was. And history change captured the page URL was changed from product to the software. Okay. So remember all these variables, how triggers, how they work, It is not just that you tell them to listen. When they listen to such action being tracked or performed by a user, it pushes that event to data layer. So I can use this event, history event, to create my trigger, send the data to analytics. So whenever history change happens, send data to analytics. Send what URL? The new URL. If I change again it will send another page with another new page. Right? This happens with most of the websites who have typical, what do you say, a single page application websites where, because they want to increase the speed and performance of the website, they try to make it like that. They don't make a round trip every time user wants another page. Let's come back and create another trigger. Timer trigger. Prashant, timer trigger also I'll create. Whenever people look, whenever people spend at least 10 seconds on my site, it is in milliseconds. 10 seconds, what I will do? Yeah, 1000 is 1000 milliseconds is 1 second. So I'll put 10,000, which is 10 seconds. How many times you want like that? 10 second, 10 second, 10 second. How many times? So I'll say, let's say 5 times. I'll put like this. And it's asking me something else. So I'll say on all pages. So what I will do, I'll choose page URL contains the website. The page URL contains the website. So which website should I choose? I will choose ours called class dot all times or every page. Right now, I showed you for this by using that extension. I will close this because it is not part of what we are doing, right? Timer. Now, what I will do is I will not create any time, no tags. I want you to understand how triggers are working and how when a trigger identifies when a user doing an activity that you told the trigger to look for, it will push a data layer event, data layer event, data layer event. It will not just push the data layer event. When it pushes the data layer event, all the variables that we created, right? These variables are ready to get the value when that action happens. So click variable is ready to get the values whenever a click happens. Form variables are ready to get the value whenever form submission happens. Scroll variables are ready to get the value whenever a scroll action happens. And page URLs are ready when page loads only, right? Page loads, they try to get all the values. So if you're on same page, do 10 actions, 10 events. Page URL will be same only, no? So page URL variables will be same. Page path, page referrer, page URL, they all will be same because it's happening on the same page. But when it comes to click, it might change because on the same page you click here. So these variables will have the values of this click. And then you scroll down, you click here. So now in the second click, the old values will be replaced with new values, but page will remain same because it's only one page load. No, if you go next to page, the page values will change accordingly to whichever page you go to, right? So what I will do, I will configure some more built-in variables. So I want to enable them built-in variables, form variables, history, you see, history, source, history, state, video variables are enabled for some reason. Right? It creates a random number. If you have any errors, we show us in errors. So I enable all the variables. I click on preview, go to this website, close this. That is when page loaded, by default, it tracked container load, which is page view, DOM ready, all DOM ready, window load. And you see timer trigger became active. Why? Because 10 seconds are over, 10 seconds. You see, when 10 seconds are over, it pushed an event to data layer. It pushed an event called gtm.timer. Write this one point if you're listening to me very diligently. Every time you push something to data layer, always use the event key, event, and you put whatever event you want. If it is add to cart, don't put view item. It's wrong. Whatever action data you're pushing data to data layer is not enough. You have to push the data to data layer and also include event key. You see 5 times it triggered. First, it says 10,000 seconds, event number is 1, which is 10 seconds. Second time, 10,000 10,000 milliseconds into 20,000. 20,000 milliseconds is what? 20 seconds. This is 3, this is 4, this is 5. It is not firing anymore because I put the limit to 5. So if you want to know how many seconds have passed, I can just multiply this by this. How do you multiply, Prashant? I will read this value from the data layer. To read values from the data layer, remember we have so many variables, right? We discussed about built-in variables. Built-in variables, what they do, they also get values, but they get values associated to a page. They get values associated to a click. Whenever a click happens, it will get you click values. Which element the user clicked, what is the text of it, what's the URL of it. Form also, if the form is submitted, until the form is submitted, all these variables will say undefined, nothing is there with us. When the form is submitted, no, these variables go and get the data associated to that form submission. What form was submitted, what's the form ID, what's the form class, and video URL also. Until you go and play a video on the website, all these variables say nothing is there, nothing is there with me, because we never identified a user activity that deals with video. But once you play the video, immediately these variables will go and get value. What is the video provided? YouTube, video status, play, video URL, what the URL of the video title, video duration, the whole video duration. If it is 2 seconds, 20 minutes, it'll say 20 minutes. What's the current time when this action happened? Video percentage, how much percentage when this action happened? And scroll, right? Now you see here, I want you to look at this. Did I scroll anything? Abhi I did not scroll. That's why you see scroll depth threshold, nothing is there. Video, because I never interacted. History, I never clicked anywhere. That's why it's nothing. But page URL has the values because page is loaded already. Click variables don't have anything because click action was never tracked. Scroll never variables don't have anything because scroll never was tracked. Referral means where was I previously? I was here. If I go from this page to next page, no, referral become, for example, let's say from home page, if I go to contact us page, the new page URL will be, what I'll do that. You see, I'll go to contact us page. You see, I go to contact us page. The page URL now, you see, the page URL is this, the new values. But referral is my previous page. And still the video URLs, nothing, they don't have anything. Why? I never performed a click. Here I performed a click, right? I clicked on it. You see, when I click here, you see, the video variables are still undefined because they never identified an action associated to video. Scroll variables also don't have anything because they never identified an action associated to scroll. History also, they never identified anything. Form also, they don't. But if you see click, the variables got an action of click. And now they got the element. This is the element on which the click was performed. There's no ID to it. There's no target to it. There's a text to it. The URL is this. Right? On this page, we never scroll down. That's why scroll down until this also, it's nothing. But here, when we get to next page, the moment we went to next page, scroll depth is already there. Why? The page is so small, the moment it loaded, 25% is already loaded. That is why the moment page loaded, it says 25% is there. That's why scroll depth threshold now has values. Because these variables identified an action associated to scroll. And I said, hey, 25%. Now what I will do is I'll slowly scroll. You see, now other scroll depth is identified. This time, the value is 50. If you see here, the scroll depth is 25, 50 vertical. Whenever a timer event happens, the timer event pushed the new data to data layer. But these variables are still having the value. So it's like it's either variable, you put something in me, I store it. In the same page, you might do some other actions, I'll still hold it until you change the value to something else. So you see here, 25 is stored, another event was happened, another event happened, another event, the values are still there. Those values will only be replaced if those values are changed. And when they will change, when another scroll depth happens. And yes, it happened because this time it was 50 and they were changed. Right? Now, Prashant, element visibility did not become true. We created element visibility also, no? Let's go and see if that works. Element visibility trigger is waiting when GTM loaded. If I could see an element popping on the screen and the element ID that we selected, the class we selected. So I will write yes, whatever. I submitted the form, element appeared. Let's go and see if element, yes, it captured. Oh, it captured, it didn't capture. I don't know why it didn't capture. I have to go and see why it did not capture. It tracked the form submit, the form submission trigger that we created, right? That form submission trigger accurately captured that a form was submitted. You see, we created a trigger called form submission. but this form submission message was not captured properly. So I will go and check if I gave the right class. Element visibility. Let me submit the form once again. Why isn't it appearing? I want to see if the message that we are typing in. Yeah, the problem is this. Every time we submit a message, this ID is unique. Seems to be right. Why is there a mistake? What I will do is, if this is not working like this, we can simply click right click, copy, copy selector. I can write something like this. Document dot query selector. I'm just trying to check why the selector that we wrote isn't working. It has to work 100%. I'll try to put this. Submit the form again. No, it isn't working. It should work. It should work. Oh, why it isn't working? Maybe the event listener is not firing well. I will tell you. I will tell you. I have to debug and tell you. But element visibility will work 100% of times. I've never seen a situation like this where element visibility is not appearing. We know that the selector we wrote is perfect. It's also appearing. Maybe for whatever reason, the tag manager listener for element visibility is not able to listen to an element that appears on the screen who has a CSS selector of this particular. It should work. I don't know why. I can check and let you know. That shouldn't be a problem. But what I will tell you is, whenever you want to do something like this, you need to learn CSS selectors. If it is becoming to learn difficult to learn CSS selectors, you can use this copy and here you come. But the problem is when you copy something like this, no, it gives you a very big selector. Such a big selector it will give you. If you know CSS selectors, what you can do is you can find that exact element by writing something like 15 letters or 20 letters, not having to write this much. But for that, you need to learn a bit of CSS selectors, which I will teach you in the program. Okay. Right. Now, what I will do is I go click on, oh, there's no YouTube video on the site. Now, whenever I go scroll, you see all the data associated with actions are scrolled. You see, I scrolled. I clicked, I clicked on something. That's why it tried. And you see, the variables will keep changing the values as and when a new click happens. You see, when this click happened, they said the text was this. When this click happened, the text was something else. Right? So now what I will do is I'll make triggers specific. How you know? Look, whenever link click happens, not every link click, Prashant, only some link clicks where click, what's going to, whenever this click happened, link click, whenever click contains this URL, click, not form, but I will just click URL. I use this. So what is this? This is a variable. So I'm creating a specific trigger saying when this is a variable. So I'm creating a specific trigger. Not all clicks, but some clicks when click URL variable contains this value. So now I can change it to not all elements. Prashant, not all window loads, Prashant. Only those window loads where page URL contains contact. How do I know it, Prashant? When we go to the next page, which is the thank you page that we went, right? When the form was submitted, you look at the URL, the URL contains what contact. So I'm saying whenever URL contains contact. So this is not all pages, window load only contact page. So what am I essentially trying to do? I'm trying to change the trigger from a generic trigger to a specific trigger by using variables. Why variables? Because page URL variables contain the page value. And I'm saying whenever people go to any page where the page URL value contains contact, only then this trigger becomes true. Now you see a timer trigger was working on every page. Timer trigger was working on every page. You see every page is working. I don't want to do it, Prashant. I want this to wire only when people go to which page. Let's say about us page. Copy the link URL. I will come here and say when page URL contains about us. Now I will say timer only for about page. Prashant, the YouTube video will start tracking every time people start and complete and progress, right? All pages, Prashant? No, Prashant. On home page there's a video, training page there's a, every page there's a video. But I want to create a specific one. So I will say only when the video is on the page URL contains. So this will only track when people go to my website and there's a video, and that video should be on the contact us page. And on that page, whatever video you interact, only then this trigger becomes true. Scroll depth is there, Prashant. Scroll depth is there. All pages, no, Prashant. I wanted to only fire on. I wanted to fire only on, let's say, accessories page. So I'll go copy the link address. I'll say when page URL contains. Now you see here, the scroll depth event which was firing on every page, you don't see that fire anymore on this particular page because we said the scroll depth should fire only on some pages and you don't see any of them. Oh, it is firing here. Maybe I think there's something with my caching. It shouldn't fire here. It is still firing because the page URL I put to only fire on which page? Contact us page, but it's still firing on this page. Something to do with my caching, basically. Right? Now timer trigger fire, Prashant. Timer trigger didn't fire because timer trigger did not work. It will work when you go to which page, let's say accessories. When I go to accessories, let's say timer trigger works. You see new page loaded also already. I want to go and see timer trigger is working on about page. Sorry. Is this the about page? No. So let me go to about page. The moment we go to about page, new page loaded, container loaded, DOM is ready, window initialize. Remember all these triggers, whenever they become true, they push an event to data layer. Why? Because whatever data is inside of data layer, right? The variables can read it or we can read it. And you see here it says 10 seconds. Why? It did not fire on the previous page because we said it should fire only on the page. Which page? The about us page. And previously we were on bicycles page or whatever. Right? Now I created an event called view item list. This view item list was pushed when you went to the bicycles page. Yes. So that trigger that we created, no, this one, CE, view item list. This trigger would have become true when this event was pushed. When this event was pushed, all the data was pushed, but the event name is this. So what I want to do is when that event is pushed and the event name is view item list, I want to do something. So I create a trigger. That the event name is custom event and put the event name. So what I want you to do is I want you to spend some time, look at GTM tag manager, create only triggers. Don't create any tags. Just create triggers. Create a generic, what is it? Generic trigger, which will fire everywhere, and then make it slowly specific by adding variables. So what I wanted to teach you before I start with GA4 is that I want you to understand how to create a specific trigger. You need variables because variables supply data, and that data which is inside of variables is what you need to create a specific trigger. And when the trigger becomes true, the tag, whatever you create, will fire. So let's say if I create any tag, the tag should have a trigger. So I can choose any of the triggers. Let's say if I do this tag, whatever I create will fire when this event is pushed to data lake, which is this one. No, Prashant, I will remove it. I'll say, let me do this. Whenever people go to whatever page, about this page, and scroll 25%, 50%, this will become true. And whatever tag you create, that tag will fire because this becomes true. Right? So if you look at this very clearly, it shows The tag you create, choose whatever you want. It will fire only when you create a trigger. And when you create a trigger, you create a trigger normally, but at the bottom of the trigger, you make it specific by using variables only. These are all variables that we created, right? And these are only built-in variables. Next class, as we go deeper into it, we will discuss about the different type of variables that are available, which is the second version, which is user-defined variables. And user-defined variables, you can do magic with it. You can go get data from different places. Built-in variables are just there. You just need to enable it. And once they enable, they are there, ready, waiting to catch. When an action happens. When action happens, then get the value. Each variable, they don't catch all actions. They catch only actions associated to the action they should be tracking. Let's say click variables will only get the data when a click happens. Scroll when only scroll happens. Scroll will not get when add to cart happens, right? But sometimes, Prashant, I want to get some value from the cookies. I want to get some data from data layer. My developer put the data in data layer, Prashant. I want to get the data from data layer. You have a variable type data layer. You can get any data from the DOM. Let's say you want to read this title. Let's say you want to read this. Let's say you want to. Oh, there's a video also. Let's say you want to read whatever you want. Let's say you have a price and you want to read. So you have variables inside of GTM called DOM variables. Custom JavaScript you can write. You can read any data you want from URL. What comes after question mark? Prashant, in the URL, if there is question mark, UTM source, I want to get the value of it. If it is UTM source is Facebook or Google, I want that value, Google or Facebook. So I can go say in the URL, look at query parameter. What query? UTM source. So if UTM source is equal to Facebook, this will return Facebook. If UTM source is equal to YouTube, this will return YouTube. So it basically is a variable listening to whenever page load happens. Whenever page load happens, it looks into the URL to see if there's any variable called UTM source, whatever I specify here. If you put GCLID here, it will see whenever page loads, is there any value called GCLID in the URL? If yes, it will get the value. And you will do what? You will understand. Getting the value is one thing, but what you do with the value is the logic that you will write inside of Google Tag Manager. So what I want you to do today is go back, just look at all the triggers and variables, only default ones, built-in ones, and create basic triggers. We created mostly all of them. I want you to go create the same triggers that we created. You don't have website, you might say, right? You don't do anything. You simply create a GTM account, empty container, copy this ID, go to our website, use this extension. Inside this extension, you go, put your code, your GTM code, and website name, class.measuremarketer, and save it. Which means in the boundaries of your browser, whenever you load class.measuremarketer, your GTM will load. So if your GTM is loading, you can create all the triggers. So you don't have to tell me, Prashant, I don't have a website. You have a website that you can use this and do whatever you want. But it only works in the boundaries of your browser. Thank you so much. I will stop here. Next class, we'll directly start with GA4. Why do you recommend minimum percentile? Sometimes I want to make sure that people are reading the reviews, man. So if reviews element is appearing and that is in 70%, so I will say scroll up 70, but I want to know, not just scroll. If you just scroll like this, no, it's still 70. But I don't know if he read. So what I did, that review element, if it is on the screen for at least 50% or 50 seconds. CSS selectors are important because if you want to get any data from the DOM website, let's say you go to product page, you want to get the price. Your developer did not put the data in data layer. You can't go bash it, no. You have to do something to get the value. And you will say, Prashant, it's on the website, no? It's appearing on the website, take it from there. But to take the data from the website, you need to tell the browser to go exactly and find that element in the whole document. In the whole website document, you need to tell the browser to go to that exact element. To go to that exact element, right? The browser needs to be told. How the browser needs to be told is CSS selectors. I have a nice game. We will play that game. You'll understand CSS selectors. Is there any way to get the CSS selectors on a button click any Chrome extension? I'm not using the extension. I'm extremely good with CSS. I'll write myself. Or I'll show you right click, copy CSS selector. Well, the URL just adds hash. Yeah, good question. In the user defined variable, user-defined variable, I just showed you that query. There you have fragment. If you create that variable, whenever in the URL there is whatever comes after hash, it will get that value for you. So GTM has a variable which can even get the hash value from the URL. That's why so many variables in GTM, each variable gets different values. So there's one variable to get the fragment also, which is the hash. In that case, we can use specific page URL trigger rather than using variable. Only history change can help. Yes, history change can only help when page URL changes. History change is only used when page URL changes, but page reload does not happen. If page reload does not happen, GTM doesn't know page load happen, which means page view trigger, DOM ready, window load won't happen. It only happens for the first page, and all the other pages page loaded, but page did not reload. So you will miss out. You will say only one page load, but actually 5 pages are people moved. So to be able to track that, you use history change. Can we use click element as a condition? Yes, you can use. What is the difference between page URL and click URL? Page URL means whatever page the user is on. Click URL means when a click happened, what is the URL on which the user clicked? So on the home page, I clicked on a URL called contact. The page URL will be home page. The click URL will be the contact as URL. Is it possible to track WhatsApp clicks and how many? No. WhatsApp, nothing can do that. Because it lives inside of an iframe. It lives in its own environment. GTM cannot listen to what's happening inside of WhatsApp. WhatsApp does not give us that option. There are some chat applications like chat bots and all. Some chats allow us to listen to some actions. Some people say, don't put GTM. I will not allow GTM. I will only send data to data layer. You take it from data layer. So GTM is there on the side. You say, I will come and put the camera. I will track it. If not, you put the data to data layer that I don't have to put my code in you. You put the data layer, I'll take it from here. That's how it happens. Right, guys? Thank you so much. Please practice that. Work on the same site. Use the extension @verb data layer extension @verb, which allows you to inject your code on my side, and you can then do a debug, and your GTM will work, but only in the boundaries of your browser. So you can create all this to this node. Thank you so much. I will see you next class. Next class, I'll directly start over GA4.